Hi there, good evening and a very warm welcome to the Transfer Show with deadline day fast approaching now, just a couple of days to go. It is all getting very interesting indeed. We've got huge news tonight from Manchester United, from Everton, from Arsenal and Tottenham all on the way.
Yep, welcome along. We're also joined by Peterborough United owner Darren McAntony, as well as Francis Benali and James Collins.
Tweet them your questions at Sky Sports News. We'll put the best to them live on air.
We'll also keep you updated on tonight's football. Manchester United have a mountain to climb if they're to turn around a 2-goal deficit against Manchester City and reach the EFL Cup final at Wembley. We'll have the latest. And can Liverpool go 19 points clear at the top of the Premier League? They will if they beat West Ham, who themselves could drop into the relegation places. So plenty coming your way on this transfer show over the next 2 hours. Delighted to have Darren McAntony with us, Francis Benali, who's going to be watching Liverpool West Ham in a bit as well, and of course Kaveh and Dharmesh, as they are every evening, with us for the transfer show. So much to get stuck into. Let's crack on with the huge news this evening that Barcelona have made a bid for Everton's Richarlison. Kaveh, what can you tell us?
Well, this is a story that came into our news desk in the past hour. Everton have turned down an £85 million bid for the Brazilian striker Richarlison. We're being told this offer was made earlier this week. Everton rejected the offer immediately because they're unwilling to sell one of their prized assets. Now, of course, Barcelona are looking for a striker because Luis Suarez is out injured at the moment. And we're being told that Richarlison is a long-standing target of the Barcelona sporting director, Eric Abidal. Abidal believes Richarlison would complement Luis Suarez's style of play when he comes back, when he is fit again. Of course, if they were to sell him for £85 million, they would be doubling their money because they signed him from Watford for about £40 million 18 months ago, and he scored 24 times in 60 appearances for Everton. But what our news desk is being told in the past hour is that Everton have turned down an £85 million bid for Richarlison.
Dara, give us the owner's perspective on this. As Kaveh says, it would be nearly doubling their money if they'd accepted it, but it's just 2 days to go till the window shuts. As an owner, what would your reaction be?
That's your biggest issue, is it's not about getting the price of the right deal for the player. Because the player, he's going to want to go to Barcelona. No disrespect to Everton. It's happened. The biggest clubs have had to sell to Real Madrid and Barcelona. I think the biggest issue is there's not much time left. So unless they've known about it prior, and they've worked on a plan B.
Dara, I'm going to interrupt because apparently we're having mic issues with you. Okay. So I'm hearing you, but people at home are not enjoying what you've got to say. So we'll sort that out and we'll come back to you. Let's see if Francis is working. Hopefully you are. I mean, give us an idea of how Richarlison will be feeling tonight, because our understanding is that Everton have flatly rejected this. I guess the player will know by now that Barcelona are in for him. How will he be feeling?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, it's a huge sum of money. I mean, that's a decision for the football club first and foremost. There's many factors to it. I think, if it's the January window is predominantly an inflated market, if you like. But when Barcelona do come calling, there's very few occasions where the player doesn't ultimately move. It'd be interesting if it doesn't happen. There's obviously a couple of days left now. How would Richarlison himself? I don't know him personally. How would he be between then until the end of the season if there was potentially a move in the summer? But I think it's a bit of a statement as well from Everton. They've got a new stadium that they're going to be building. New manager coming in, wanting to build a team, really, rather than dissemble one. And he is obviously one of the jewels in the crown for sure. And I think if he did go, it's just raising the bar again, I think, as well, from a transfer perspective. We know this is an inflated market, but, talking about similar sort of money for a Virgil van Dijk, is he worth it? In my opinion, probably no in a way, but he's still such a young age, 22 years old. I mean, he's still improving. There's scope to still inflate his price in the future. But it's one that I just never saw coming. I mean, I think it's shocked all of us, probably shocked Everton as a club, getting an approach from Barcelona. And it's a big decision to make now.
Let's try this again. Dara, as an owner, give us your perspective. 2 days to go till the window shuts.
As long as you can hear me this time.
Yeah, it was good the first time, so try again.
I said, I guess, look, the issue is it's Barcelona. And when they want somebody, they're going to get somebody. The problem you've got is with 2 days to go, it's reacting to that. If you know in advance, you can have a plan B. If you don't know in advance, well, you've got massive issues, particularly being Everton. They're going to look at where they are on the table, selling their prime asset. They're not going to do that deal unless they can bring someone in. And as we've seen with strikers and the issue in this window with lots of clubs, Tottenham want a striker, everyone wants one, Man United need one. I don't think there's a plan B for them right now. So that deal, if it's going to happen, will be the summer, in my opinion.
But let's pick up the point that Francis was making, the player himself. When you've had a player who maybe clubs have come in for, you said, no, you're staying here. How do you manage that?
I've had it this window, and, you know, you manage it. It's a difficult one because you've got the player, his family, you've got the agents, you've then got your manager who wants to keep your best player. We're trying to win promotion. It's a juggling act. Even up to yesterday, I was in a meeting for 4 hours trying to appease an agent, appease somebody's dad, a player, because we don't have necessarily a plan B. Yes, we can go out and get another striker or another player. They're not going to be the same as the one we've got who's bedded in with our team and an important part. Richarlison's a massive part for Everton, so losing him this late in the window would be catastrophic in my opinion.
This is probably a question for Kaveh, actually. How are Barcelona affording £85 million to get Richarlison?
Well, this is interesting because yesterday we were reporting that they were trying to sign Bruno Fernandes as well. And Barcelona are supposed to have issues with financial fair play. So you do have to ask the question, where's all this money coming from? I know they need a striker because Luis Suarez is injured. They were trying to buy Rodrigo from Valencia as well, but he would cost big money. And we always hear the president of the Spanish league, Javier Tebas, complaining about how English clubs are financially doped and how they are paying so much for players in the transfer market. But you have to ask the question, where are Barcelona getting the money from this month as well?
Drop in the ocean for Barcelona, particularly if those payments. Europe, most deals are done over 4 or 5 years. So if you're buying a player for 100 million, it's 25 million in this year's budget, 25 next year. For a club like Barcelona, that's nothing. That's like you going out and spending £500 on a good night out. So financial fair play.
That's nothing for Kaveh.
Well, yeah. Fair enough, depends who he's with. But I guess the reality is if Barcelona want your player, they're going to find the money and they're going to be able to do the deal. Financial fair play or not.
What if you're being really cynical?
Sure. He wants a new contract?
That's what I was going to ask.
All day long.
How often does that happen?
He signed one in December, didn't he?
Yeah, of course. He probably wants a bigger one. All the time. But you see it happening all the time. And, you know, it's like the Mendes thing. Mendes has rang Barcelona a couple of days ago and he said, look, you owe me a favour. And I'm saying to you now, if someone asks you about this deal with a Portuguese boy, don't deny or confirm. Barca go, yeah, no problem, give you the nod, wink, wink. And then suddenly United are under pressure and all the story leaks. You know how this works.
Darren, you said you've experienced that before. But
all the time.
You see through that, though, when that happens?
You do and you don't, because there's still the panic of losing. I said to you before, it's like selling a car, an asset that everyone wants, that everyone covets. And if you're the buying club and you hear someone comes in at the last minute and you've made your bid and you've worked really hard for a month to try and sign a player, and at the last moment, it's the devastation for your fans. It's you looking embarrassing. So you're thinking, I've got to get this deal done. The story could be you know what, but at the end of the day, let's just get it done. So Mendes has worked very cleverly for his client, as he always has. The guy's a genius, one of the better agents out there. And look, United have got a really good player.
You'd know as well. I mean, I gather from what I know, players' contracts, quite often there's a lot of them that come up for renewal in January.
All the time.
So, you know, it's the players and the agents are going in, they're having these discussions this time of year, almost with a view to think, well, if I'm not going to get a new contract at the end of the season, they're having that conversation now and with a view to possibly pushing that move through in the January window.
Of course. And look, what will probably happen, I said it over there behind the scenes, in a couple of days, Richarlison will sign another new 5-year deal. And then in the summer, Barcelona will buy him. That's football. That's just the way it is. That's the industry. We know this as owners. We know there's people involved within the game. Nothing you see on the transfer deadline show or anything else is news or surprise to any of us.
Well, by the way, I should just point out, Dara mentioned his experiences at Peterborough there. I know Peterborough fans have been on at you at Twitter today saying update us on X, Y and Z, which we will do a bit later this house if you're a Peterborough fan. Do stay with us for that. Let's move on now from Richarlison to Manchester United, because big news, and it's a player you mentioned, Dara, Bruno Fernandes. This has been rumbling on. Dharmesh, where are we?
Has it?
Yeah, maybe just a bit.
Look, Jules, the soap opera, the saga, whatever you want to call it, is almost at an end. Now, at 4:15 this afternoon, Manchester United announced that they've agreed a deal to sign Bruno Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon, subject to a medical and personal terms. Now, yesterday, we broke down how that deal would work. Manchester United would pay around £46.5 million up front, and the bonus payments could add up to a further £21 million. So in total, this deal could be worth, if he fulfills all of those conditions, £67.5 million. Now, today, Fernandes has been in Lisbon, officially terminating his contract with Sporting. It's also thought he's recorded a farewell video, which I think we've just got into the building now, which hopefully we'll be able to show you a bit later on as well. He then made his way to Tires Airport to board a private jet to Manchester, and I think we can see those pictures now. That's him at Tires Airport. So he's on his way there to Manchester right now, we understand, to take that medical. And if United can get all the paperwork and the registration done by midday on Friday, then Bruno Fernandes will be free to make his debut against Wolves on Saturday at 5:30 at Old Trafford, a match you can see live on Sky Sports.
We'll discuss with Francis how important he could be to Manchester United very shortly. But Dara, you know, we mentioned George Mendes a moment ago. Let's talk generally about the role of agents in the game. They're always under the spotlight. How do you find it?
I was with one this morning.
How was that?
Yeah, that was fun. I met him in Starbucks to keep it civil.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So it was like, and that was for his own safety. So it was like, yeah, it was good. It went well. Yeah.
But generally, I mean, are they a necessary evil, as some say?
Yeah, they are, and they're here to stay. As much as you'd like to get rid of them, and there's some great ones, there's some good ones, and I've worked with a few. And then there's others that, you know, you'd want to feed to your dog. Excuse me saying that, you know, but that's just the industry we're in. There's good, there's bad, and it's down to the players to pick the right ones. The bad ones that you get to deal with, wow, I've had some barnstorming rows and screaming fits, and I had one out my window in my office at Peterborough once, and I've had some great battles with them over the years, you know, and I like to think I win one most of the time. But that's just a necessary evil of the game, and Franny will tell you that. Having a good representative for you as a player is very important. It's difficult to represent yourself or to have a family member represent you without getting emotional. So you need to be a professional, and you need to have a professional, you know, deal for you. And the good ones out there do a great job for their players. Mendes is a brilliant one.
I mean, footballers need agents, don't they? As Dara says, they play football, they don't negotiate. That's not their job.
It's moved on massively. I mean, in my time, I had one agent do one deal, and the rest of the time it was pretty much going in with the chairman or the manager at the time and just, is there a new contract, is there an offer? I never really wanted to leave the club, so I think that reflected in my contract over the years. But they're part of the football now.
Yeah.
It's part and parcel of it, and what it does do for a player is it enables them to just literally train, play, concentrate on their game, and they've got representation that will deal with that side of things.
Absolutely.
What about Fernandes himself? Look, I'm not a Manchester United fan, but everything I see and hear about him,
love him.
He's going to be an exciting addition to the Premier League, isn't he? But is he enough? Going to make a difference for United to hit the top four?
Well, 39 goals and 83 appearances for Sporting. He'll bring that attacking mindset, that ability to United. United need a lift at the moment. And there's a lot of negativity around United. The goals, the assists will be a big thing. Marcus Rashford being injured at the moment, I'm sure has played a big part in the decision of this signing. Yeah, I mean, he's right age as well. Yeah. Portuguese, 19 games for Portugal. So he's a player that could increase in value. It's a big chunk of money, but we've seen it before.
Bargain.
Huge sums of money are going to be bought here, but United need that lift, and he could be the player to bring it.
I think he's a terrific player. He's a good addition to the Premier League. He's a great age. I think in modern times now, with the prices, he's a bargain for United. And I think you'll see the best of him next season, not necessarily this season, because those foreign players do take time to bed in. And I think next season, him feeding the Rashfords and the Martials of the world, I think they've got an incredible... He's a bit like when we got Coutinho years ago at Liverpool, that kind of player that can come and be... Now, obviously, Coutinho was a bit younger and whatever else, but a difference maker. And I think he'd be a big difference maker. And if they can get him done in one other, not a bad window, and progress and building steps with him there.
It'll give the dressing room a boost as well.
Definitely.
It freshens the dressing room up a little bit.
Definitely.
A player walking in the door as opposed to like a Richarlison possibly walking out.
Correct.
It's, you know, it just gives everyone a real lift around the club.
Well, Dara said if they get him and one other done, yep. Kaveh, I mean, are United in for other players?
I think ideally they'd still like to sign another striker as well. Of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said they were going to try and do that because Marcus Rashford is injured. They didn't really replace Romelu Lukaku in the summer, and also Alexis Sanchez went on loan to Inter Milan. But it's been a busy day today at Manchester United. They're very close to signing a young goalkeeper from Southend United, Nathan Bishop. Marcus Rojo looks like he's off to Estudiantes. Of course, they signed him, I think Louis van Gaal signed him for like £16 million from Sporting. That move hasn't really worked out. He's on big wages at United. Fenerbahce were interested in taking him, but he wants to return to Argentina. It looks like he's leaving United this week. And also talks continue about United trying to sign Jude Bellingham from Birmingham City. You know, this guy is one of the hottest young prospects in English football. He's only 16 years old. Lots of other clubs are trying to sign him as well. I think United trying to do a deal for about £25 million where he would stay on loan at Birmingham for 18 months and then come to Old Trafford. So he would be one for the future. But when it comes to strikers, short term, who is available? Edison Cavani, but he'd rather go to Atletico Madrid, although it doesn't look like that is happening at the moment. Then there is Christoph Piontek at AC Milan. Looks like he's going to Hertha Berlin. Then there's Giroud, he's available on the market. Inter Milan not paying what Chelsea want. And then there are names like Slimani and Igalo. I'd find it difficult to see them going to Old Trafford. So time running out if they want to sign a striker, and there's only one or two names really left on the market at the moment.
Yeah, and a couple of those names you've mentioned being linked with Tottenham as well. We'll discuss Spurs in a few minutes with the guys. Darragh, in the middle of all these Manchester United moves is Ed Woodward. And we saw some pretty disgraceful scenes last night, didn't we, on social media with his house being attacked.
It's mad.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Disgusting. Look, we're all passionate about our clubs. I'm a Liverpool fan. I own Peterborough. I understand when people lose their rag. I lose my rag when we don't win. We lost at Wimbledon last week. I was crying all the way home. You know, my driver was looking at me with shame in his eyes. That's football. That's the way it is. We're passionate about it. But that reaction, that way to deal with it. Look, Ed Woodward needs to go and hire a director of football. What he does for Man United commercially, brilliant, one of the best in the game. Just go get a director of football and it takes all this pressure off you. Go out and tell everyone it's going to take us 4 windows to get it right. We're going young. We're going to bring the young players through and we're going to buy the best of EFL youth, a la Bellingham. We're going to get a director of football in and you're going to get your club in 2 years back to where you want it to be. Just tell everyone.
It's interesting because you're not the first person to say they need a director of football for the last 2 or 3 years.
All day long.
They're resistant to it, it seems. Why might that be?
I don't know why they're resistant to it, because they can definitely afford one. I don't know who's making that decision, but it's an easy call now. And I'm not trying to take away what happened to the man or at his house last night. That's horrible and that shouldn't happen. But that's what he needs to do. Focus on what you're good at and get people in to do the things maybe you're not so good at. And that's how you run a business. But look, who am I to tell Ed Woodward how to run his football club? But that's a simple fix. Be transparent, go get a director of football, and it will buy you time to get back to where you need to be. United are going to need 2 to 3 years to get this right. They're going to need 4 or 5 windows. Some of the signings they've made I like, and they're in the right, and I'm a Liverpool fan saying that. So, you know, Maguire, we haven't seen the best of him yet. You know, obviously this boy that's coming in there, Fernandes, is going to be a great acquisition. So they will get it right, but just go buy yourself time and be transparent with the fans.
Darragh, just very quickly, how bad has the abuse got for you at Peterborough United?
I've been really, really lucky in 14 years. I think there was one game I had an issue early on. When we were in the Championship. We just had back-to-back promotions. It was our first season in the Championship. We were 4-0 down to Cardiff at half-time, and I had a guy coming screaming over the fence at me going, go back to where you came from. It was I'm Irish or whatever else. So I nearly flattened him, so the stewards were lucky to get hold of me because he might have been going in a body bag out of the ground. But we then in the second half got back to 4-4. So it was a great comeback. That's the only time I've ever had abuse. Now, I get trolled online on Twitter by opposition fans, but that's banter. That's okay. You go on social media, you put yourself out there, you got to be big enough to deal with it, you know? But I've never to that level of, if one of my employees or CEO or director of football was getting abused like that, that'd be a massive thing for me. I'd be like, listen, enough of this already. This is like getting silly now. This isn't life or death. You know, this is football we're talking about. And I get for some fans it is, but to do that with a man with his wife and his children in the house, you just overstepping boundaries here.
If you're Ed Woodward now, you know, you're getting stick from the fans every
Horrifying.
game, rightly or wrongly.
Sure.
So when something like that happens, are you thinking, I don't need this?
Come out and talk then. Look, Ed Woodward's obviously a deal maker. He's closed more commercial deals than most people in the Premier League. Come out and talk. Come out and do an interview. Come out and do a fans forum. Okay, you're going to need to be brave. You're going to get a lot of stick. I've done fans forums where we've lost 5 games in a row. And my press guy goes, do you still want to do this forum? I'm like, absolutely, now's the time to do it. Because you're going to be out there and you're going to be front and centre. Front it up there with Ed Woodward and say it. Look, we're going to get it right. This is what we've got to do. Give us time.
Yeah, absolutely no justification for what we saw the
No.
The other night. Gents, thanks very much indeed for now. After the break, we're going to be focusing on Tottenham's search for a striker. A couple of names we've mentioned with United already. Christoph Piontek, Olivier Giroud, and much more too, all coming next. A reminder, it's the second leg of the second EFL Cup semi-final tonight. Manchester United will certainly need Anthony Martial to be on fire tonight if they're to overturn that 3-1 deficit against City. He starts this evening along with Mason Greenwood at the Etihad. It's live on Sky Sports. We'll keep you updated with the goals here a little bit later. Well, as you might have noticed, Francis Benali has left us, and we've been joined by the former West Ham defender, James Collins, who's going to be with us here in the studio tonight. Good to see you, James. Let's crack on with Tottenham, shall we? Turn our attentions to Spurs. They've had a pretty decent window so far. Are there more new signings still to come? Let's turn to you. Kaveh, nearly a month now since Harry Kane got injured. Where are they in the search for a new striker? Well,
look, they've got in Jetson Fernandes on loan. They signed Steven Bergwijn today from PSV for £27 million. But you're right, Jose Mourinho is desperate for a striker, and the options are really running out at the moment. Just in the past few minutes, Christoph Piontek, a striker they were interested in at AC Milan, he is on his way to Hertha Berlin for £23 million. That is almost done. So they missed out on him. The other options, I suppose, Jose Mourinho likes Edison Cavani, but we know that's going to be difficult. He's on £360,000 a week at PSG, and he wants to go to Atletico Madrid. There's still a bit of interest in Willian Jose at Real Sociedad. They could make a late move for him. He wants to come to England. The really interesting one is Olivier Giroud. Now, he is at Chelsea. He's not really wanted at Chelsea. He's been told he can leave. Inter Milan have been trying to sign him, but they can't agree a fee with Chelsea. The interesting thing now is Spurs. Will Spurs make a move for him? We're being told they're interested in signing him, and he is open to moving to Spurs. It would be incredible to have a player who's played for Arsenal, Chelsea and then Spurs. I think the big issue with this is historically Chelsea are very reluctant to do transfer business with Spurs. I remember last January Spurs were trying to sign Michy Batshuayi on loan from Chelsea. Chelsea just would not do that deal, and he went to Crystal Palace instead of Spurs. I'd find it really difficult to see Chelsea agreeing to sell him to Spurs, especially because they're both going for a Champions League place as well, and he could score the goals that potentially could see Spurs qualifying for the Champions League instead of Chelsea.
Well, Darren, let's put that to you then. The two factors there, they're top four rivals, they're London rivals. As an owner, would you sell?
Never going to happen. If you're fourth and you've got the chasing pack and two of them want to sign one of your strikers, and yeah, Giroud, look, he's of no use to Lampard at the moment with the Chelsea team, and they're looking for another striker. And I'm not really sure where those clubs are in for him, to what end goal. What points are you going to serve? So I'd see him going abroad. I don't see those deals happening. No chance. Chelsea, no way they're going to sell to Tottenham.
James, you'll come up against him. Would he be a good signing for Spurs?
I think he'd be a great signing. Obviously, the position they're in at the minute with Harry Kane being out, he's scored goals wherever he's gone, and obviously I've played against him. He's a real handful. I think he'd do a good job for Spurs, but like you say, I can't see Chelsea selling him to a rival that close if they're going for the Champions League spot. If he is to score goals, it looks bad on Chelsea. So it'd be a great deal for Tottenham, but I can't see it happening.
And as we know, they're trying to find a striker who can fit in now and deliver, but then is going to be happy to go back on the bench as and when Harry Kane comes back, which is a dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the problem Tottenham are going to have. As soon as Harry Kane's back, any centre-forward they sign, Harry Kane's going to play. So, to attract the right sort of player in the January transfer window is going to be tough because, like you say, they're going to be second choice as soon as Harry's back. But I think looking at the way they play and obviously the goals Harry Kane brings, they need to sign a centre-forward. Who it is, we don't know.
Dharmesh, in terms of a potential outgoing from Spurs, Danny Rose has been linked with lots of clubs in the last few weeks. What's the latest with 2 days to go?
Yeah, look, Watford and Bournemouth were 2 of 6 clubs we were told were interested in Danny Rose, but we could have a front runner now, and Newcastle United are pushing very hard to try and sign Danny Rose from Tottenham Hotspur. There's still work to be done on this one though, because Newcastle United, they want to do a loan deal. Tottenham Hotspur want to do a sale, or at the very least have an obligation attached to any kind of loan. That's because Danny Rose has got 18 months left on his contract, and Tottenham can't be seen to let him run down his contract to 12 months. Now, you remember he did an interview a couple of months ago where he said, don't worry about me in January, you don't need to write anything, I'm going to be seeing out my 18 months of my contract. If Daniel Levy had read that contract, that interview, I'm sure he would have said, no, you're not. And now he's in a position where he's not getting first-team football at Tottenham, and he's probably had to change his mind because Euro 2020 is coming up. If he's not playing first-team football, which he's unlikely to do at Tottenham, then he's going to have to move. So he's going to have to do some sort of deal whereby he can get regular first-team football to try and force his way into Gareth Southgate's England squad. But it looks like Newcastle United are the ones pushing the hardest at the moment. But look, this is 2 days? 2 days to go. It's not going to be easy to get a deal like that done in that time.
We talked about Giroud probably on the way out of Chelsea. What about Chelsea and incomings, Kaveh? Because I think we were expecting a busy window, weren't we, given the overturn the ban and all that, but it hasn't panned out that way. Do you expect that to change between now and Friday? We're going to see a hive of activity?
I think Frank Lampard wants to sign someone, and I think he's getting a bit frustrated. In the past week or so, it's the first time we've seen Frank Lampard in public appear to be frustrated with what is happening at Chelsea. I think he's gone in there, he's done a great job, he's got the fans on side, he's got Chelsea playing exciting football, he's using a lot of young players. Yes, of course, they've lost a few games, but ever since this FIFA transfer ban was lifted, he was expecting to have money to spend, big money, and it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason, and I think he is becoming frustrated. I think he may have to wait until the summer when they may sign players like Jadon Sancho, for instance. But I think in the short term, this window, he was expecting a lot more. He feels they haven't replaced Eden Hazard, and the money they made from selling Eden Hazard hasn't been spent yet. He wants another striker to help Tammy Abraham. I think he wants another left back because I don't think he's totally convinced with Marcus Alonso or Emerson. And I think he wants another centre back as well because they haven't really replaced Gary Cahill or David Luiz, even though they've got 4 very good centre backs at the club. So for the first time in the past few weeks, I just detect Frank Lampard being a bit frustrated with what is happening there as regards transfer business.
Darry, give us an idea of the sort of conversations that might be going on behind the scenes.
Look, I hate when managers do it publicly, show any frustration or any irritation with what's going on behind the scenes, because that's not healthy, and that just gets the hairs on my back up. You know, I had a manager not so long ago who did it. Every time there was a microphone in front of his face, it was like, I need 2 more players. We'd signed 16. And it got to the point where a week before the season started, I was ready to fire him. It just, I said to my wife one night, there he is again after another pre-season friendly. I need 3 more. And I've had enough of this. Enough already. I get Lampard's frustration. However, that was a gift of a job to get. He got a hell of a job there. Yes, he's done a good job. And I just think, you know what, let it play out. If they don't bring it in, they've got some great players there. They'll still make the top 4, and they'll get what they need in the summer. He's at a great club. It's a dream opportunity. Just don't rock the boat. And you certainly don't need to do it in public. If he has, I don't know if he has or not, but there's no need to do it at such an early stage in his career.
And to be fair to Frank, I don't think he's come out explicitly and said, I need more players, get me these players. It's just from watching him in news conferences, you just sense that he would like more.
He'll get them. He'll get them in the summer probably. January is not the best time to do business. It's desperado time sometimes. And it's like, it's a difficult window for everyone involved when you're buying, whether you're selling. So the summertime, Chelsea have always recruited really well. They'll have a plan in place and they'll sign probably 3 or 4 terrific players in the summer.
James, do you agree with Dara? If they don't get anybody in before Friday, will this young side be good enough for the top 4?
I think so. I think they've proved it early on in the season. Like you say, Frank's come in and done a tremendous job, not being able to spend any money and sort of got on with what he had there and done tremendously well. I'm not so sure they'll sign anyone in January. Like you say, if they don't, I'm sure they'll go big in the summer and kick on again. You know, that's what Chelsea do and what they've done in previous years. So I don't think he'd be too disappointed if he doesn't get players in, because you know he'll have a war chest in the summer to get what he wants.
Chelsea fans, obviously keep an eye over the next couple of days with us. Anything happens, we'll let you know. Dharmesh, let's do a couple of other bits of business. 2 days to go then, and you've got an update on another move for us. Yeah, well,
a move that might not happen now, actually. It concerns the Crystal Palace left-back Patrick van Aanholt. He's got 18 months left on his contract at Selhurst Park. He's been the subject of 2, perhaps even 3 bids from PSV Eindhoven. The latest that we'd heard was a £7.6 million bid. Now, that remained on the table as far as we were aware in the past couple of hours, but PSV Eindhoven now, according to our colleagues at Sky in Italy, have agreed a deal for AC Milan's Ricardo Rodriguez. So as it stands, it looks like Patrick van Aanholt is staying at Crystal Palace, which in the short term is good news for Crystal Palace, but he's entering that dangerous time as far as football clubs are concerned. I'm sure Darryl will know all about this. 18 months left on his contract. If they don't renew his contract now or don't sell him now, he'll go into the final 12 months, and as we know, 6 months later he can sign a pre-contract agreement with a foreign club and then go for free.
And also just a few updates. I'm getting a couple of messages from an agent who's involved in a couple of deals this evening. He's telling me that when it comes to Danny Rose going to Newcastle, the talks are continuing between all parties and hopeful that a deal can be reached which suits all parties. He also goes on to say, ignore any stories you've seen about Emmanuel Adebayor going to Newcastle. There is no interest at all from Newcastle in the player. I think he's a free agent at the moment. He also says Steven Nzonzi, who was at Roma, he's been out on loan in Turkey, he's been made available to a lot of clubs. He's telling us that he was offered to Villa on loan, but it doesn't look like that is happening. And a separate update we're getting regarding Nahki Wells, the striker who was owned by Burnley, but he was on loan at QPR for the first half of this season, did really well, scored a lot of goals. He's gone back to Burnley, and this evening it looks like he's on his way to Bristol City, which is a blow for QPR because I know they wanted to sign him as well, but I think Bristol City have offered more and he's on his way there.
Kaveh's phone is lighting up yet again. It's fascinating just watching it there. Any other news? Kaveh and, of course, Dharmesh.
That was me texting.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Hurry up.
Feel wanted, yeah. Right, OK, lots more to come for you. It's been a pretty decent week for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, hasn't it, through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. And they've signed a defender. We'll be discussing all things Arsenal next.
That's right, it's back. It's the transfer show. Wine. He loves it. He loves it. Today we're asking who has been the best manager in the transfer market. Kaveh, away you go.
Bob Paisley, the quiet genius. In 9 years at Liverpool, he won 20 trophies, including 6 titles and 3 European Cups. And his record in the transfer market was incredible. For less than £1 million, he signed Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness and Alan Hansen. Between them, those 3 won 42 major trophies. Just look at his record. He signed Steve Nicol, Phil Neal, Ronnie Whelan, Bruce Grobbelaar. The list goes on and on. To borrow the words of one of his rivals, Bob Paisley wasn't the best manager in the transfer market, but he was in the top 1.
That's great, but unfortunately just over time, so that last line won't count in the vote. 3 words: Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, everyone makes mistakes, including the great man himself. But when Fergie got it right, my goodness, did he get it right. Cristiano Ronaldo, Eric Cantona, Roy Keane, Peter Schmeichel, Dennis Irwin. Their combined transfer fee was less than £20 million. And some of the other names: Ferdinand, Vidic, Van der Sar, Rooney, Van Persie, De Gea, Cole, York, Stam. I could go on, Kaveh. This is simply not a contest. Vote Ferguson. So that's what we think. Now it's over to you. Vote on Twitter at Sky Sports News.
Dara, there's your first taste in the studio of the Rewind. What do you think?
It's tough because I'm a Liverpool fan and I employ Sir Alex Ferguson's son. So it's like torn between 2 lovers, right?
Yes, yes.
So I'd have to say Liverpool, Paisley, and you look at the names there, it's incredible. And as a fan, you forget some of the... But, you know, you got to look at the value as well. Some of the people they brought in, they paid nothing for. Yes, we can go Ferguson's record with Rooney, but, you know, he's paid 30 million for Rooney, 14 million for Ronaldo, X amount of millions.
1.2 million for Cantona.
Yeah, but that's one you're throwing out there.
All right.
And, you know, let's be honest, there was a fiddle-diddle there to get Cantona that cheap, so I don't know what went on over in Leeds at the time.
Taibbi?
I said everyone makes mistakes.
Jemba.
So good, they named him
Listen,
twice.
we all have some bad mistakes in our lives. So, you know, you're naming a few there. I'm sure Liverpool have got some as well. Paisley all day long.
I mean, there's 2 legends of the game.
Absolutely. Icons.
Okay.
Icons.
Oh,
No, you 2. Well, I don't think so. 2 legends of the game. Who's the best operator you've ever seen in the transfer market, whether it's a manager you've had or someone you've admired?
It's difficult in modern times. You know, you look around, and this might sound weird and whatever else, but every time I've seen Sam Allardyce go into a club in a January, and he's on a, you know, he's like a fireman running into a burning house, and he's on a rescue mission, he does tend to do some good business. You look at some of the players he brought to Palace, for example, you know, their captain, for example. You look at what he did at Sunderland. He's done some really, really good deals under some tight time, you know, constraints and the money he spent. So you go back to the old days of Harry and his car window and when he signed 7 players to save Portsmouth that season. So there's all sorts of little stories over the years. Nowadays, with directors of football in the game, it's a bit different. So maybe not so many obvious ones nowadays.
We're going to turn our attention to Arsenal in just a moment, but actually Arsenal's women are playing this evening in the League Cup semi-final stage, as it is in the men's. Manchester City are away to Arsenal, and there's been a goal. Jess Crichton can tell us. Jess.
Yes, thanks, Jules. It didn't take this Arsenal women's team long to get into their stride. They're already gone a goal up. It took them just 6 minutes. It was capitalised on a defensive error by the Manchester City players. Gemma Bonner didn't clear her lines. It was intercepted by an Arsenal player, threaded through to who else but Viv Miedema on the left-hand side. Some quick feet from her allowed her to gain an inch on Steph Houghton. She's driven it low past the keeper, past the far post, into the net, and Arsenal have the lead. Arsenal, of course, going for their 3rd straight Conti Cup final here, and they've got 1 step in that final. They're 1-0 up.
OK, Jess, thanks very much indeed. Let's turn to Arsenal, shall we? They have been busy, Dharmesh.
Yeah, look, all window we've been saying 2 things. Arsenal are in the market for defensive cover, and also that they wouldn't be bringing in arrivals that required significant investment. Both now seem to be coming to fruition. They've made 1 signing today, on the verge of another. It's been confirmed to us in the past few hours. They're close to signing the Southampton fullback Cedric Suarez. It's an interesting deal, this one. Cedric's contract runs out in the summer. Arsenal will take him on loan, and then at the end of that loan, he'll become a free agent. And you'll think if he does well at the Emirates, Arsenal will be in pole position to sign him for no money at all. Southampton will receive a loan fee, and of course, they've made that signing of Kyle Walker Peters from Tottenham as well, so they're covered in that area. One signing that is done for Arsenal is the Flamengo defender Pablo Mari. He's joined on loan until the end of the season. That comes with an option to buy. That deal could be worth in the region, if everything goes well, around £12 million. Now, the move was in the balance around 24 hours ago, but a change in the structure of payment got it back on track. So Pablo Mari in, Cedric Suarez imminent.
OK, we're going to crack on. Lots to pack in the next 15 minutes or so of the transfer show. We're going to be talking as well about the matches that are underway now. They're underway in the Etihad in the EFL Cup semi-final second leg. I can tell you that Ed Woodward, after what happened to his house last night, is there in attendance at the game tonight, and we'll keep you updated on that one next. Lots of football taking place tonight. Thomas Souček has just been introduced to the fans at West Ham. Their new signing from Slavia Prague. It's been confirmed on an initial loan deal until the end of the season with the option to make it permanent in the summer. He's there watching West Ham take on the runaway league leaders Liverpool. And also tonight, it's of course the second leg of the League Cup semi-final, the Manchester derby at the Etihad. We'll have news from those two games and the rest of tonight's matches. Kick-off is underway. And Darragh McAntony is still with us, the Peterborough, and we're going to focus on your club now. Darragh, going so well after a tricky Christmas.
Get in there.
3 wins in a row, up to 4th in the table, just outside automatic promotion.
Yeah.
However, a couple of your players have necessarily attracted attention from elsewhere. Marcus Maddison, your fans have been asking all day, what is happening? Is he going? Is he staying?
Well, here's where we are with Marcus. We've had him for 4 years, 5 years. We offered him a new contract. He turned it down. He made it very clear to me he wanted championship football. He's had a great start to the season. I went out early January. I did a deal with the Charlton chairman 2 weeks ago. We agreed terms. We've left him with Charlton to speak for 2 weeks. They haven't been able to close the deal, so it comes down to terms. We had then Birmingham come in and make 2 bids. The bids were pretty much the same as Charlton. We just needed to structure the payments. Birmingham didn't want to structure the payments. We couldn't wait till the summer and next year. We needed some now, some in the summer. We were okay waiting for some. So that deal fell apart 2 days ago. Another club's come in that's midway in the championship doing well. They're about to sell 2 players. If that happens, they're probably going to agree a deal tomorrow morning. So it's down to the player in those clubs. We've obviously said to Marcus, look, you want championship football. I've just delivered it to you. It's good for you. It's good for the club. What are you waiting for? And we'll get on with our season. So that'll be the end of the saga. Hopefully he chooses one of those clubs or they come to a deal. I know Charlton could certainly do it signing him because of the position they're in. And, you know, losing championship football is worth millions and millions. So signing a player of that ilk and paying them what they need, you get a deal done. I did it when we signed a player from non-league for nearly £1 million recently. We needed a player in that position. The difference he's made has been a big part of the 3 wins we've had.
But with 2 days to go, is there any chance he might be still with you at the end of it?
He could be sat with us at the end of the window. I doubt he's going to get back in our team again. He wanted to move to the Championship. We fulfilled that promise to him. Now it's up to him to agree a deal. So we've moved on as a club.
Another player of yours who's having a great season, Ivan Toney, 18 goals. He's been linked with the Championship. He's been linked with a couple of...
He's rubbish. Nobody wants Ivan. He's rubbish. Well, don't even look at him.
Not according to the price tag I've been reading. £9 million. Is that what you want from him?
No, more. Look, I love Ivan. The club loves Ivan. He's the best player outside the Championship, in my opinion. I think in lots of people's opinion. Of course, everyone wants him. He's a leading goal scorer in the country. He's 23, but he's our player. And we're not selling promotion down the river, even for 10 million. And we had two of the top 4 clubs in the Championship have bid for him. We know there's 7 other clubs, because of financial fair play, they wouldn't be able to buy him until the summer. One of the clubs in the top 4 of the Championship up until this weekend made 4 bids and then came and saw me last Tuesday. And I made it clear to them, I understand you want to buy him. The player probably wants to go because the way it works, you'd have tapped him up. However, we're not giving up on promotion. That person said to me, well, you've got a 7.5% statistical chance of promotion, so why don't you sell him to us? I didn't quite like that approach. So I said to him, look, here's the compromise. The player will obviously want to go to you. He could be playing in the Premier League in the summer. You're going to buy him. You're going to give us what we need. But he's going to stay on loan with us, and you can pay us in the summer. We don't need the money. You don't have to pay us now, but we need him back on loan, and you can pay us in the summer. That was my compromise, because he was not leaving our football club. So they came back and just said, look, we can't get to that number. And I said, that's our number, and we're not changing. So we've told Ivan, we will visit in the summer. If we're not in the Championship, of course, we will sell you to the right club for the right money. He is a brilliant lad, and he's to be fair, since then, not a problem.
And just very briefly, if 9 million isn't the right money, what is?
We've already told clubs out there that we want 10 plus 2. 10 million is a fee, 2 million in add-ons. We made that very clear. That would be the number that would turn our heads, not now, in the summer. If someone wants to buy him now, we want him back on loan, and you can then have him in the summer and be ahead of the game, because there's probably going to be 2 clubs in the Premier League who are going to want him that will go down, and we'll need a player like him in the Championship, and lots of other clubs in the financial fair play, they'll have the money in the summer. They don't have it now.
Darragh, in 20 seconds, because we're running out of time, on Twitter today, you said to your fans who've been asking you any more outgoings or ingoings, you said yes and no. What do you mean?
So, no, we won't be signing any more players. We brought in 3 terrific acquisitions in the window. And yes, possibly out. Could be Maddison. Could be a couple of younger players to go out on loan for some experience.
But it won't be Ivan Toney.
It will not be Ivan Toney. No chance.
Darragh, you're going to very kindly stay on for a little bit longer into the 8 o'clock hour. So more from Darragh McAntony very shortly. Lots of football taking place tonight. A couple of games in Scotland. The Old Firm both playing. Celtic at St Johnstone tonight. Davy Donaldson can bring us up to 8 on that one. Davy.
Yeah, dream start as far as Celtic are concerned. It was James Forrest down the right-hand side. He whipped over across, and there was Olivier Ntcham to bullet the header into the back of it. You have to say that he was completely unmarked. There's a great save from Xander Clark as well a short time ago to prevent an own goal from Liam Gordon. Got a touch on it. Clark did brilliantly to keep it out. And then Callum McGregor's just put a shot past the post from the edge of the penalty area. It's all Celtic, absolutely dominating this match. And you have to say, you'd think it's only a matter of time before they double their advantage. It's St Johnstone 0, Celtic 1.
Yeah, remember they started the night 5 points clear of Rangers, who also play this evening there at Ibrox against Ross County tonight. So we'll keep you updated on those, the matches in League One as well, and the matches in the Premier League and the Carabao Cup semi-final. That's why James Collins and Francis Benale are here. They're watching West Ham, Liverpool, they're watching Manchester City, Manchester United in the Cup. We'll keep you updated on those, and of course, when we come back, another hour of the Transfer Show. That is next. Welcome back to the Transfer Show. We're going to recap the day's big news for you in just a moment, but lots of football being played tonight. Let's get an update for you from the Etihad and from the West Ham-Liverpool game as well. It starts with the semi-final then. Francis Benali is watching Manchester City with that 3-1 first leg advantage against United in this semi-final. What have you seen so far, Franny?
Well, Manchester City have started this game so quick, so bright. They're shifting the ball really quick, Jules. Manchester United have barely touched the ball. They can't win the ball back. They can't keep the ball at the moment. All of the players, it'd be interesting to see the possession stats so far. Literally everything so far has been in United's half. City are pressing. They've had a couple of chances already. Sergio Aguero had a header from about 5 yards out that De Gea made a great save with his right hand. And then shortly after, Mahrez had a shot across goal that he saved with his right boot. A penalty appeal for City as well early on. Maguire bundled into the back of Sterling in the box. I think Maguire just slipped, which meant he collided with Sterling. So VAR, and obviously looking at it, no penalty was given. So very positive start for City. United are on the back foot in these early stages.
It is live on Sky Sports Football in the Premier League tonight. Liverpool, the leaders, looking to go 19 points clear of Manchester City at the top. West Ham, only goal difference outside the bottom three, looking to become the first team to beat them in the league this season. James Collins is watching. Liverpool on top.
Yeah, it looks like from the start that unbeaten run's going to continue. First 15 minutes, they've had 85% possession, Liverpool. Had a few chances. Origi's got in round the back of the debutant in Ngakia. Put the ball across. Fabianski's made a good save. Saying that, they've gone the other end, West Ham, and Matt Zaku's put a great cross in, and Lanzini should score, but then it's flagged offside. So it's all Liverpool in possession, but West Ham are likely could get one on the breakaway.
And James, just on that, Jeremy Ngakia is his name. You mentioned him here. 19 years old. This is his West Ham debut. And David Moyes has chucked him in against the Premier League leaders. I mean, how's he feeling?
Yeah, it's an incredible night for the young lad. To be honest, I don't think any West Ham fan would have seen it coming. He's obviously shown David Moyes something in training to, in the situation West Ham were in, to give him his chance. But he started well. He took a little while to get into it. He's got on the ball. He's looking to play balls behind, down the line for Haller and Lanzini, and he settled in pretty well. But it's a night you'll never forget.
James, thanks very much indeed. If there are any goals in those two games, we'll get back to them and we'll be out and about to the rest of the matches a little bit later as well. But let's recap the top transfer stories of the day. There are plenty of them for you. Kaveh, I'm going to start with you. Barcelona and Richarlison. What is the latest?
Yes, this is a story that came into our news desk earlier this evening. Everton have turned down an £85 million bid for Richarlison from Barcelona. The offer was made earlier this week. It has been turned down immediately by Everton. Of course, Barcelona are looking for another forward player because Luis Suarez is out injured at the moment. And we're being told that Richarlison is a long-standing target of the Barcelona sporting director, Eric Abidal. Of course, Everton signed Richarlison from Watford for £40 million 18 months ago. And what we're being told this evening is they've turned down an offer of £85 million for him from Barcelona.
OK, so Everton have turned that down. What about Manchester United and their lengthy pursuit of Bruno Fernandes, Dharmesh? It's nearly over, isn't it?
It's nearly over. The soap opera is nearly over. 4:15 this afternoon, Manchester United announced via their website that they had agreed a deal with Sporting Lisbon to sign Bruno Fernandes. And subject to a medical...
Dharmesh, we've got to interrupt you because we've got more mic issues tonight. It was so good and I was learning so much from you, but we unfortunately have lost your microphone as well. So, Kaveh, anything to tell me?
I can try and fill you in on what's happening.
That'd be great.
Well, he's almost a Manchester United player. Sporting and United have announced that a deal has been agreed. The fee is €55 million plus add-ons. And Dharmesh can update us now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Fantastic, fantastic. And that fee comes up to a total of £67.5 million if Bruno Fernandes satisfies all of those conditions. Now, he left Tires Airport about an hour and a half ago. He should be landing in Manchester imminently to take that medical and to finalise those personal terms. And if Bruno Fernandes can agree a deal and register with Manchester United by midday on Friday, then he will be allowed to play against Wolves on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff at Old Trafford, live on Sky Sports.
Dharmesh, I've just had one of those taps on the arm from Kaveh. He wants to say something. Go on, Kaveh.
Yeah, we've just got another transfer update coming into us. This is a big story regarding Chelsea. What we're hearing at the moment is that Barcelona are preparing to make a late, last-minute £20 million bid for the Chelsea winger Willian. He's a player they've tried to sign in the past. They've been long-term admirers of the Brazilian, who's out of contract in the summer. And Barcelona believe they can get him for £20 million. Now, it is interesting, Willian's situation at Chelsea, because he's got just 6 months left on his contract. I think Chelsea have offered him a one-year contract extension because he's over 30 years old. That is the club policy. He's 31, but he would like a 2-year extension. And it looks like Barcelona, again, trying to come in and sign him. I remember last year PSG were trying to sign him on one of the deadline days. Interestingly, I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. I think it was around Christmas time at Chelsea's training ground, and I asked him about his future, what he wanted to do, and at that stage he told me that he wanted to stay and see out his contract at Chelsea. But obviously that could change, because these reports we're getting at the moment that Barcelona are preparing to make a £20 million bid for him.
It wouldn't be a transfer window if Barca weren't interested in Willian at some point or other. We'll keep an eye on that one. Kaveh, thanks for that breaking news. And these are some pictures that the story we're talking about just now with Dharmesh. I think Manchester United fans will be relieved to finally see this. Bruno Fernandes at Tires Airport, boarding a private jet to Manchester, where he will be completing his deal and his move to Old Trafford. So we'll keep an eye on that one very close now. Once it's confirmed, we will, of course, let you know here on Sky Sports News. Darren McAntony's still with us. It's great to have you this evening, Darren. Let's talk about Arsenal now, because they're on the verge of signing Southampton defender Cedric Suarez on loan until the end of the season. And they have got one deal over the line today, and it's the Flamengo defender Pablo Mari, also on loan until the end of the season. That deal comes with an option to buy, and we're hearing, Darren, more and more of these loans with options to buy. Give us an idea of the pros and cons of loan deals.
Obviously, the way around this financial fair play. Sometimes you've got a certain amount in your budget, so you can't spend a bigger amount. So you'll say to the club you're doing business with, if I want to loan your player, look, I'll give you your 2 million. We'll sign it, I'll pay the VAT, the levy, we'll do it now. I can only give you 200 grand, and the rest I've got in August. What do you want to do? That club will go, OK, we'll do the deal, so we'll do a loan to buy obligation. So no matter what happens in August, I'm buying the player. I just don't have all the money right now. But when you're dealing with a club like Arsenal, it's money in the bank for the Brazilian club who sold the boy. So it works for both clubs perfectly. We've done that before. Other clubs have done it with our players. Sometimes it's just the way around and the way you got to do things.
And on Barcelona, which you might have just heard the story we just had on Willian, you raised your eyebrows at the Richarlison line. Yeah. But Barca back in for Willian, which they've been before. Does that make more sense to you?
Probably. He's a wonderful player, and at his age, he could play easily in La Liga, and he'd do very well at Barcelona. They're obviously looking for a wide player. I think the boy they've got out there is always injured and injury-prone, and he'd be a good fit for their squad with the experience he's got. And 20 million, if he's got a year left on his contract, to probably get it up to 30, that's great business getting your money back in Willian after all the years of service he's done for Chelsea. Good business all round.
Well, Darren, we've really enjoyed having you here for the last hour.
Pleasure.
So thanks very much. You're looking forward to the next couple of days? You're just going to switch your phone off, or how's it going to work?
It's nice to be winning again, but we've got Ipswich on Saturday, so it'll be a big mammoth effort.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to enjoy watching you guys on Friday. I'm over in Dublin, so be good.
Have a good weekend.
Brilliant.
We'll look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you. All the best for the rest of the season. Darren McAntony, the Peterborough owner, who's been with us here on the Transfer Show tonight. Now, big Manchester derby tonight, of course, and after those scenes last night where his house was attacked, Ed Woodward is there at the Etihad watching tonight. And what will he have seen in the first 23-24 minutes at the Etihad as Manchester United try to find a way back into this semi-final? Francis.
Well, City have had another chance since we last came to me, Jules. It was Sergio Aguero played a great little ball into Raheem Sterling on the edge of the 18-yard box. Sterling flicked the ball back to Aguero with one touch. Aguero went on and fired high to the near post of De Gea's goal, and De Gea sort of managed to dive to his left and push it wide for a corner. So it's, again, City being dominant, but United just trying to get back in the game a little bit. They're playing almost with a 3 back there. They've got Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw as a 3 with Williams and Wan-Bissaka as almost like the wing backs, but they're being pegged back so much as a 5 that they're really struggling just to keep possession of the ball long enough to give themselves a bit of a breather in the game so far.
In the Premier League, West Ham, Liverpool, we saw Wolves push Liverpool pretty close, didn't we, in their last league game. Of West Ham given them anything to think about yet, James Collins?
They've had a few chances on the break. Liverpool are totally dominant in possession. You know, West Ham are struggling to, when they do win the ball back, to get out of their own half with a pass forward, and Liverpool are coming back on top again. Liverpool have just had a great chance. Andy Robertson gets the ball, gets in behind Ngakia, the young lad on debut, gets to Fabianski in goal, goes to dink it over him, doesn't quite get enough on it, and it's cleared off the line. But Liverpool are totally dominant at the minute.
Thanks very much indeed. For now, James, a couple of goals elsewhere to tell you about in other matches tonight. Let's get straight back to the Scottish Premiership, to McDermott Park. Last time we were there, St Johnstone had gone a goal down to Celtic. There's been a second goal in this one. David Donaldson.
Yeah, as I predicted, it was going to go Celtic's way, and it has done just that way indeed. It was James Forrest, edge of the area. He slipped the ball onto his right foot and drilled it low into the bottom left-hand corner. A couple of chances as well. Griffiths forcing a good save from Xander Clark. And then Edouard has shot. Great run by him, bet a couple of people, and then just put the ball wide of the post. It's all Celtic, absolutely dominating this match. They lead by 2-0.
And a couple of games in League One tonight, and Shrewsbury, of course, took Liverpool to a replay in the FA Cup at the weekend. Are back to league duty tonight. They're at Gillingham, and if they're going to get something, they'll have to come from behind in this one too. Craig Slater.
Yes, that's right. Shrewsbury have made 5 changes to the team that started that draw against Liverpool in the FA Cup, and they have gone a goal down in the last couple of minutes. Gillingham have had most of the pressure in this game, and the ball broke to Stuart O'Keefe at the edge of the box. He was able to measure his finish, and it beat Mark O'Leary in the Shrewsbury goal. So Gillingham, a goal to the good here.
We've got to go back to the Scottish Premiership, back to McDermott Park. A third goal. Who's this one for? David Donaldson.
Yeah, it's gone the way of Celtic again. As I said, they have been absolutely dominant. Certainly Neil Lennon has obviously just set them out today, has really wound them up, and they've come out firing in all cylinders. They've gone 3 up. It was a cross on the left by Greg Taylor, and who else but Lee Griffiths to volley the ball into the back of the net. St Johnstone 0, Celtic 3.
Yeah, a scoreline that piles the pressure on Rangers after their defeat the other day to Hearts. They are 0-0 with Ross County. Well, this is West Ham's new signing. It's Thomas Soucek. We'll discuss West Ham next.
OK, 20 Premier League clubs, 3 minutes. Here we go. Arsenal on the verge of signing Southampton defender Cedric Suarez on loan until the end of the season. And they've signed Flamengo defender Pablo Mari, also on loan until the end of the season. The deal comes with an option to buy.
Scott Hogan has returned from his loan at Stoke and gone straight back out on loan to Birmingham City. Meanwhile, Dean Smith still wants to bring in another striker this week.
As it stands, Bournemouth unlikely to make any signings before deadline day. They have been interested in Tottenham defender Danny Rose.
Boca Juniors want to keep Brighton midfielder Alexis McAllister on loan until the end of the season. His father says Brighton have tried to cancel the loan agreement.
Bristol City are tonight closing in on an agreement with Burnley to sign striker Nahki Wells on a permanent deal.
Still no new arrivals at Chelsea yet, and the future of Olivier Giroud is up in the air. Spurs want him, but Chelsea would be strengthening a rival if they let him move to North London.
West Brom right-back Nathan Ferguson has been having a medical at Crystal Palace ahead of finalising a move that could be worth £10 million. Patrick Van Aanholt is likely to stay. PSV had 3 bids rejected and have now agreed to sign Ricardo Rodriguez from AC Milan.
Everton have turned down an £85 million bid for their Brazilian striker Richarlison. The offer was made earlier this week. Barcelona need a forward because Luis Suarez is injured.
Leicester City are being frustrated in their attempts to bring in a central defender. Their hopes of signing Southampton's Yannick Vestergaard are receding.
Liverpool don't need to sign anyone else this month. Next.
Manchester City likely to go with their current squad and focus transfer activity in the summer.
Manchester United have agreed a deal Sporting for Bruno Fernandes worth a potential £67.6 million. They're also close to signing Southend United goalkeeper Nathan Bishop. Meanwhile, the defender Marcus Rojo is set to join Estudiantes on loan.
Newcastle United pushing hard to sign Tottenham left-back Danny Rose. Newcastle want a loan, Tottenham want a sale.
Norwich have confirmed that new signing Melvin City will stay on loan at Sochaux until the end of the season. He's Norwich's 3rd signing this month.
Sheffield United close to signing Dutch striker Richarlison Zivkovic from Chinese club Changchun Yatai. Striker Callum Robinson has joined West Brom on loan until the end of the season.
Southampton have completed a deal to sign Carl Walker-Peters on loan from Spurs. No option or obligation to buy. His arrival means Cedric Suarez will be allowed to move to Arsenal.
Tottenham have signed forward Steven Bergwijn from PSV Eindhoven for £27 million. He signed a 5.5-year contract.
Watford interested in Birmingham City left-back Christian Pedersen. They want a left-back, but Nigel Pearson happy to go with what he's got.
West Ham United have signed midfielder Thomas Souček from Slavia Prague. The deal is for a loan with an option to buy in the summer for £17 million.
French youth international Enzo Loidish has joined Wolves on loan from Dijon, and a deal for Daniel Potence is almost done.
Good work, guys. Still waiting for the first goal in the League Cup semi-final, but big tackle this from Harry Maguire to help keep it at 0-0 on the night, but still Manchester City firmly with one foot in the final, leading 3-1 on aggregates from that first leg. But Maguire scored, of course, in that 6-0 demolition of Tranmere in the FA Cup at the weekend with a big tackle to keep it at 0-0. At least it was 0-0. We're going to hear about a goal in the Premier League game in a moment, but I think we should start in the game we've just been hearing about at the Etihad Stadium, because this League Cup semi-final is well and truly on now. Francis Bernali.
It certainly is, Jules. And talk about going against the run of play almost, really. United in the last few minutes have just been building themselves back into the game a little bit. And United won a free kick sort of wide out on the touchline. It was whipped in by Fred. The ball didn't get cleared from the Man City defence. And it was Matic there who left-footed, almost like the technique was wonderful. Low, just inside the post to score, making it an aggregate now of 3-2, but 1-0 on the night. Got a game on, cup tie for sure.
Well, there was a surprise last night with Aston Villa reaching the final, wasn't there? Could there be? Still, a surprise tonight. United back in the tie, just one more goal needed, and then it would get very interesting indeed. Sky Sports Football to watch it, and as Manchester United were taking the lead in the semi-final, were the leaders taking the lead at the London Stadium. James Collins.
Yes, 1-0 Liverpool. So penalty. West Ham were on the break, as Liverpool do, won the ball back and broke back on West Ham. It could look as a soft penalty. Firmino's got the ball inside the box, squared the ball to Origi. He's actually the wrong side, the right side for the West Ham defenders. He's somehow wiggled through, and Issa Diop has made a challenge. There's minimal contact, but he's gone down. Diop's got the booking, and Mo Salah's stepped up and does what he does, side foot straight in the corner, 1-0 Liverpool.
James Francis, thanks very much indeed. We heard Manchester City behind in the Carabao Cup semi-final on the night. Manchester City's women's involved in a League Cup semi-final tonight as well. They were a goal down against Arsenal last time. We were with Jess Crichton. What's been happening, Jess?
Yeah, City still behind. In fact, they're 2-0 behind now. No surprise, really, because Arsenal have enjoyed the majority of possession. They've enjoyed the majority of chances. They've been slowly turning the screw here at Meadow Park, slowly upping the pressure. They've extended their leads, Arsenal, to 2-0. It was Viv Miedema with some brilliant work. She's actually already got herself on the score sheet, picked the ball up in near enough the centre circle, has dribbled past 2 or even 3 Manchester City players, cut the ball back to Daniela van der Donk, whose low shot was fumbled by the City goalkeeper Ellie Roebuck. So Arsenal here in complete control, looking comfortable, looking to make their 3rd Conti Cup final in a row. Here at Meadow Park, it's 2-0 to Arsenal.
Jess, thanks very much indeed. You're up to date then on the night's football. Let's get back to the transfers. And Kaveh, you were telling us that breaking news about Willian a little earlier on and Barcelona. You've got a further update.
Yeah, there's a bit of an update here. We were telling you that Barcelona are prepared to make a £20 million bid for Willian. They believe that he is going to be out of contract in the summer. They believe that lots of other clubs are going to be trying to sign him in the summer, so they want to move now and try and get him because he's only got 6 months left on his contract. They think that £20 million may be enough. But look, we've been here before with Barcelona and Willian. They've tried to sign him virtually every transfer window, and he has told us that he would like to stay at Chelsea until the summer. But he did say, you know, in football, you never can tell what is going to happen. But I do remember Frank Lampard has also gone on the record and said a few times at news conferences when he's been asked about Willian that he is a player that he would like to keep at Chelsea. So we have to make that clear. Some other information just coming into me as well from Sheffield United regarding Sander Berg. They're in talks to sign him. He's a really highly rated young midfielder who's played really well against Liverpool twice in the Champions League this season. We're being told this evening that talks are progressing well. It would be a real coup if Sheffield United managed to convince him to join them, because previously we'd been told that he would like to play for a club who are in the Champions League. You never know, Sheffield United might qualify for the Champions League. Also, our colleague at Sky Italy, Gianluca Di Marzio, we had him on this show last week. He gave us lots of breaking transfer news lines. He's just messaged me to say Sheffield United still trying to sign Panagiotis Retsos from Bayer Leverkusen. He's a Greek centre-back. Leverkusen signed him for £17.5 million for Olympiacos. He's also highly rated, according to Gianluca. He could be on his way to Sheffield United. And one other line to bring you, I'm being told that Greg Doherty, midfielder who's at Rangers, he's free to go on loan this window. A number of EFL clubs trying to finalise a deal for him, and I'm also being told that Charlton and Sunderland interested in him.
This is incredible, though. Barcelona yesterday were in for Rodrigo from Valencia, and they were trying to get Bruno Fernandes as well, and then loan him to Valencia so they could get Rodrigo in. That was going to cost upwards of £100 million together. Richarlison for £85 million today. Oh, and it's just £20 million for Willian, so they've come down in their prices a little bit. But incredible. I mean, all of those worked out. Looking at £200 million at the end of January.
And also with 2 days to go. You know, they're leaving a bit late, aren't they? That's for sure. Kaveh, let's just go back to West Ham. We know they were a goal down to Liverpool in the lead tonight, but they've made a new signing today.
Yeah, great move by West Ham. They've signed Thomas Souček, the Czech midfielder, on loan. I think the deal is going to cost about £13 million. There he is, being introduced to the crowd this evening at the London Stadium. I think he is going to be a big favourite with the West Ham fans. I've actually seen him play a couple of times for the Czech Republic against England in the past few months. I remember he played really well in October in Prague when the Czech Republic beat England 2-1. So I think he could be a really, really good addition to David Moyes' squad.
Kaveh loves his football. He's a football man, Kaveh. Goes to a lot of matches.
Look at that look.
just doing my job.
What are you on tonight? Right, we're going to get back to tonight's games because there's another goal to tell you about. It's come in League One, and Gillingham have drawn the last 4 league games in a row, but they shouldn't be drawing this one. Craig Slater.
Yes, they've just gone 2-0 up from the penalty spot. Ethan Ebanks-Landau, the Shrewsbury defender, brought down John Akinde, who's making his home debut for Gillingham after his move from Lincoln City. Ollie Lee stepped up to convert emphatically from the penalty spot. It has been all Gillingham tonight, and they can go within 5 points of the playoff places if they win this game. Heading to the break, they're 2-0 to the good.
Craig, thank you very much indeed. Ball in the back of the net in the game at the Etihad Stadium where Manchester United are a goal up, but does this one count? Francis?
It's offside, yeah. It's Raheem Sterling who's put the ball in the back of the net just from about 3 yards out. It's a wonderful bit of play from Manchester City. They work the ball to the left-hand side. The ball gets whipped in. Raheem Sterling is a good 2 or 3 yards offside, so no goal, correct decision.
There he is. Thank you, Francis. Sorry, I had so much looking at me there. Let's take you to Scotland because we've told you that Celtic are rampant tonight, 3-0 up inside 25 minutes at St Johnstone. A quiet start for Rangers at Ibrox until now, I think. Luke Shanley.
Yeah, and it's Jermaine Defoe's 17th of the season. It had been a frustrating first half for Rangers, but they finally broke down a stubborn Ross County defence. Defoe in the box, the defenders got too tight to him, good turn, and Baxter got a hand to low, but it squirmed into the back of the net. And it's Rangers who lead as we approach half-time.
OK, Luke, thanks very much. So Rangers a goal up. Celtic 5 points clear of them at the start of the night, 3 up. And in League One, Gillingham 2 up against Shrewsbury, still goalless at Prenton Park between Tranmere and Sunderland. Coming up next here on the Transfer Show, we're going to be taking your questions. Tweet us at Sky Sports News. Get involved. We'll try and answer them very shortly. Use the hashtag #TransferTalk. We'll get to your questions when we come back. Half-time at the London Stadium, Liverpool a goal up against West Ham, a Mo Salah penalty, on course to go 19 points clear at the halfway point at the top of the table. And in the League Cup semi-final second leg, Manchester United a goal up at the Etihad at half-time. Matic with the goal. Manchester City still edging this one on aggregate by 3-2. We'll have second-half updates from James Collins and Francis Bernardi. They're going to join in the transfer chat now because you've been sending in your questions via social media. Let's get stuck into them. Lots of Arsenal fans are getting in touch, Dharmesh, about incomings and outgoings. We've already spoken about Pablo Mari signing today. Cedric Suarez is close. What's the latest on Dani Ceballos, some are asking?
Yeah, this is a story that emerged in the last couple of weeks, and we're told that Dani Ceballos is looking into the possibility of cutting his loan from Real Madrid short. He's on a season-long loan, of course, at Arsenal, going back to Real Madrid and then perhaps going to another club to get more first-team football. Look, Arsenal fans will say, look, Dani Ceballos' Arsenal career started promisingly enough, but then he suffered that injury, has kind of struggled to get back, and he hasn't actually started a game under head coach Mikel Arteta. And I think a theme we're going to see as this transfer window unfolds is lots of players who have got aspirations to play at Euro 2020, of which Dani Ceballos is one, will want to try and get more first-team football to ensure that he can get into those squads. And that's exactly what Ceballos would want to do, move somewhere where he can get more regular football so that he can force his way into Spain's squad.
Some Arsenal fans are a bit concerned about all the talk about Aubameyang. Kaveh may be on the move, but with the news that we've had tonight that Barcelona want Richarlison, apparently want Willian as well, does that mean that Arsenal fans can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief then?
I think they can only breathe a sigh of relief when Aubameyang signs a new contract. He's the Arsenal captain. He's got 18 months left on his deal. We know of the interest from Barcelona, but Arsenal wouldn't sell him. I think even if they did, he would cost over £50 million. The situation with him is you've got to listen to what he said. In the Arsenal programme, in his captain notes 3 weeks ago, he said, I love Arsenal. I'm committed to this club. I want to get them back to the top where they belong. If you believe what he's saying, that sounds like he wants to stay at Arsenal and sign a new contract. So at the moment, I wouldn't be too worried if I was an Arsenal fan about him leaving anytime soon. But I think in the summer, this could become an issue yet again, because obviously he's a world-class player and he'd only have a year left on his contract, and lots of other clubs would be interested in him.
Two things to look at in this as well. While he hasn't signed a new contract, he's entered the final 18 months, and Arsenal always said, well, once the Aaron Ramsey situation unfolded when he left for free, they wouldn't find themselves in that position again. And here we are, one of their star performers, probably their prized asset, entering the final 18 months. Once he enters the final year, 6 months later, I can sign a pre-contract agreement with a foreign club and then move for free in that summer. The other thing to remember here as well is there haven't been that many noises about a new contract. Aubameyang's 30 years old, so you've got to wonder what Arsenal's policy would be for players over 30 years old. And Aubameyang has to think about that as well, because he's going to be in a position where this could be his last big contract in a major league, at least. Anyway, he needs more than a year, you'd think. Would Arsenal be willing to offer him more than that?
Yeah, clearly, guys, there's been explaining a lot going on in the head of Aubameyang then in terms of what his next move is, whether he stays at Arsenal and commits his future or does look for maybe one more big payday, Francis. I mean, it is a dilemma for him.
It's a big decision. I mean, you'd like to think maybe from an Arsenal perspective that there's an element with Arteta coming in. That is he part of that building process going forward? Like Dharmesh said, one other big contract, sign him up to a long-term deal that will keep him at Arsenal and be part of Arteta's plans to hopefully bring the success back to Arsenal again. There's still a lot of work to be done there. I mean, I wouldn't particularly say the attacking department is the issue. Yes, there's players coming up towards the end of contracts when they need to be renegotiated or sell the player, whatever they decide to do. But it's defensively, I think, where Arsenal really need to make some improvements.
I want to get James on Everton in a moment, but Kaveh, I'm going to start with you because we've had tweets in from Everton fans, and this one in particular, there's a pessimistic sort of tone to it. I take it that no one will be coming to Everton this window, question mark?
It doesn't really look like there is. We've been doing the Premier League wrap every day where we do news from all 20 Premier League clubs, and Everton are one of the clubs that I do 10, Dharmesh does 10, and it's been difficult finding even 2 sentences to write every day about Everton's transfer activity. You know, there's been talk of James Rodriguez maybe coming in on loan. The latest story was concerning Matthias Vecino, the Inter Milan midfielder. Our colleagues at Sky in Italy were telling us that Everton were in talks to sign him. They're very interested in signing him, but it looks like Antonio Conte wants to actually keep him at Inter. He doesn't want to let him go. I think he's valued at about £16 million. So unless Antonio Conte changes his mind in the next few days, it looks like he's staying at Inter Milan.
And it's interesting, James. Oh, go on.
Copy and paste as Kaveh when it comes to Everton. Yeah. January the 2nd. I wonder what your story was on January the 2nd.
Hey, it's much more educated than that. Give him some credit. On Everton, though, James, because it's interesting, Ancelotti came in, and one of the things people assumed, therefore, was, you know, with his name across Europe, he'd be able to attract players. So they've had the financial losses they announced last week, but are you surprised they haven't done business?
I think very surprised. Like you say, the situation they're in. Ancelotti came in. Maybe he's came in and he's happy with the squad. Maybe he thinks he hasn't got to make signings. But yeah, it's a strange one. You know, they've struggled this season. I'm sure a few fresh faces around the place would have given them a boost. But like you say, you know, there's still 2 days to go. We know how mad January could be. They could pop up and sign someone at any minute.
And it should be remembered as well, though, Everton and Arsenal sort of in the same position. They spent big money in the summer, didn't they? Yeah. And then they brought in new managers. Maybe the new managers, like James alluded to there, just want to just settle down. Let's see what my squad is all about, and then go for it in the summer, maybe.
Exactly that. He might just need time to see these players. He's getting to know them. They're getting to know him, and then, you know, this summer might be a different story.
Yeah, so quiet so far at Everton as it's been at Chelsea. Kaveh, Chelsea fans getting in touch asking, are they going to do anything before Friday?
Well, there was an interesting story regarding Chelsea today. It started this morning that Sky Italy were reporting, and a lot of other people have picked it up, that Chelsea are making a late move to sign Dries Mertens from Napoli. Now, he's 32-year-old Belgian striker. He scored so many goals for Napoli. He's a real cult hero in Naples, but he's only got 6 months left on his contract. Sky Italy telling us that Napoli don't really want to sell him, and even if they did, they value him about £5 million. As far as the player himself is concerned, it looks like he is happy to stay at Napoli until the summer, when he would like to move to Inter Milan. So that one, certainly Chelsea are interested, but I'm not sure they'll be able to sign him. The other one who Frank Lampard wants is Edison Cavani, but this one is really, really complicated because PSG don't really want to sell him, even though he's handed in a transfer request. They want about 20 million euros for him, even though he's out of contract in the summer. He wants to go to Atletico Madrid. His brother agent is in Madrid trying to negotiate a deal with Atletico. So those are 2 options. But look, if you're a Chelsea fan, I know that Frank Lampard really, really does want to sign some players this month, but it doesn't look like he's going to get the number of players in that he wanted.
But I wonder if you're the Chelsea hierarchy, Francis, and you're looking at your rivals, Manchester United. Fernandes looks like he's coming in now. Tottenham have started doing business, a couple of faces, Mourinho. Does that sort of knock on to you? Does it put pressure on you, thinking we've got to keep up here?
You're going to be looking at that for sure. I mean, obviously their transfer scenario has changed for Chelsea. Frank will naturally want to mould a squad that he sees the team moving forward. The youngsters that have come in have done incredibly well. I see that still being a big part of Chelsea's future going forward. But they're still going to need those odd signings that would just sort of, talking about sort of Willian potentially leaving as well. If 1 or 2 senior players do move on, or they come to the end of a contract or a career, then Frank will have those players that he will want to sort of bring on those younger players within the squad to get that balance in the team right. You know, you can't go almost too far one way or the other, I don't think. It's getting that fine balance between the youth and the experience. And yes, to answer your question, Jules, you don't want to see your opponents, if you like, and competition spending money, but maybe the summer, as the guys were mentioning a little bit earlier, will be the better time to actually sort of dip into the market rather than almost make a panic buy is the wrong way to say it maybe, but have a little bit more of a planned approach to the signings during the summer.
I just wonder whether Chelsea have been slightly surprised that the ban was lifted. Were they maybe planning that they couldn't sign anyone in January? We are, 2 days to go? You would have thought that if they were really confident of of that ban being lifted, the plans would have been in place a lot earlier. They're still like trying to get rid of Giroud by the looks of it. That still hasn't happened. It's just quite surprising.
I think in a way Frank Lampard's been a victim of his own success because the young players have done well, because he's done so well. Yes, I know they've lost quite a few games, but they're fourth. It looks like they're on track for a Champions League place. I know there's clubs behind them fighting for that fourth place, but maybe the hierarchy at Chelsea are thinking, look, he's done such a great job. He's brought all these young players through. We don't really need to be making any panic buys this month. Let's wait until the summer when players like Jadon Sancho, real world-class players, will become available. Let's spend our money then.
We're about to go to a break, but I'm very conscious your phones have been buzzing throughout the time with breaking news. Anything to report before we go to a break?
Yes, just received a message, actually, and it's from Sky in Italy, and it's the first picture of Bruno Fernandes landing in Manchester. His private jet has landed from Tires Airport to Manchester. So I think Manchester United fans are going to start breathing even more of a sigh of relief now. Look, it's been agreed, medical and personal terms to be done, but he is in the country. Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United player soon.
He is on English soil, so that looks very close, doesn't it? Oh, that's a good picture, isn't it? Thanks, Kaveh. Is that your family shot? Oh, no, that's sorry. I thought it was your holiday. Oh, OK, right, there's Bruno Fernandes, right. Well, it's not really good for the viewers, but OK, fine. Thanks very much, Kaveh, just sharing his photos from the summer. Lovely. Right, we've got more transfer detail coming up for you for the transfer show. We finish at 9 o'clock tonight. We're also keeping you across the games across the country. In the Premier League, Liverpool lead West Ham, and in the League Cup semi-final, Manchester United are a goal up thanks to Matic at the Etihad at half-time. They still trail 3-2 though. Who is going to Wembley to play Villa? We'll keep you updated on that and the game from the London Stadium next.
to go around Europe.
OK, let's start with Edison Cavani. He prefers a move to Spain, to Atletico Madrid. His agent is in Madrid negotiating. Now, Madrid only offering PSG 10 million euros. He's got 6 months left on his contract. Spurs, Manchester United and Chelsea are still interested.
Could be a case of one in and one out at Atletico. Sky Germany say Bayern want to sign winger Thomas Lemar. Lemar hasn't started for Atletico since December the 22nd.
Napoli have signed Italy forward Matteo Politano from Inter Milan. It's a loan with an option to buy. Now, does that mean that Napoli would be prepared to let Dries Mertens join Chelsea?
Hertha Berlin have agreed a £23 million fee with AC Milan for striker Krzysztof Piątek. The Polish international was wanted by Tottenham, but they only wanted to do a loan deal.
Hatem Ben Arfa, the former Newcastle United winger, he was a free agent, but he's just signed a 6-month deal with Spanish club Real Valladolid.
Now, Flamengo may have lost Pablo Mari to Arsenal, but they have the man they've wanted all window. Gabriel Barbosa, Gabigol, has joined on a permanent deal from Inter Milan. Gabigol was instrumental in Flamengo's victory in the Copa Libertadores.
Meanwhile, is Marcos Rojo staying or leaving Manchester United? Well, he's at the Etihad tonight watching his side take on Manchester City, but he's being strongly linked with a return to Argentina, to Estudiantes on loan. So much so, his mum's apparently been on her Instagram account today saying how much she can't wait to have her boy coming back home and is very excited about the prospect. But there he is, inconspicuous in that bright orange coat, at the Etihad tonight. Is he on his way or not? We'll keep a very close eye on Marcos Rojo over the final 48 hours or so in this transfer window. Let's update you on what's going on in the football tonight. Firstly, to the League Cup semi-final between Arsenal women and Manchester City. Plenty of goals in this one. City were looking to mount a comeback last time with Jess Crichton, but who's got the latest, Jess?
Yeah, I think the City comeback might just be on, Jules. They've managed to pull a goal back here at Meadow Park. It was Arsenal in the ascendancy. It was Arsenal that had the majority of possession and the majority of chances, but then Ellen White just had a penalty saved, well saved by the keeper, you have to say, by the Arsenal keeper. From the resulting corner, Gemma Bonner has popped up for Manchester City and managed to bundle the ball over the line. It wasn't pretty, but they all count, don't they? And it seems as though City now look like they've got a bit more gusto, a bit more wind in their sails to try and take on this brilliant Arsenal side so far. It's 2-1 here at Meadow Park.
Rangers were really rocked by that defeat to Hearts a few days ago, weren't they? Trying to recover against Ross County tonight at Ibrox, and they're doing just that. Luke Shanley.
Yeah, what a great start to the second half. Scott Arfield makes it 2-0 to Rangers. The ball played through to him inside the box, and he just slid in to poke past the goalkeeper Baxter to make it 2-0 to Rangers, his 5th of the season. You don't see Ross County getting back into this one now.
And Celtic still 3 up in their game at St Johnstone. Right, let's see what's happening in the matches we've been featuring here in the studio, starting with that match at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester United a goal up at half-time thanks to Matic. Still 3-2 down, though, in the semi-final to Manchester City. How's the second half started, Francis?
Well, to begin with, Jules, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made a change. He's taken Mason Greenwood off and brought Daniel James on as a half-time substitution. Greenwood was hardly in the game during the first 45 minutes, so I guess Solskjaer's trying to make that change just to get United back into the game a little bit more. They've started pretty well the second half, Manchester United. They've just had a free kick on the right-hand side, and it was whipped in, and it was Harry Maguire who, from about 6-7 yards out, got to the initial header, but his header went over the bar. But it's certainly a close game. It's a tough one to call, and with the possibility of pens, can they come back? Still 3-2 on aggregate at the moment.
As it is, Manchester City, the holders, would be going to Wembley to play Villa on March the 1st. Let's get back to the Premier League game at the London Stadium. Liverpool looking to go 19 points clear at the top of the table, leading West Ham by 1-0. That Salah penalty in the first half. But what a glorious opportunity to level that has been squandered by the home side. James Collins.
Yeah, West Ham come out looking like a different team. You know, they've got more men forward. First half they were sat deep and struggled to get out of their own half, but start of the second half they came out. Declan Rice has got the ball on the right-hand side of the West Ham area. Crossed a lovely ball into Lanzini, who was free on the penalty spot. When he sort of scuffed his shot, it was a bit weak, and Alisson's made a good save, but it was a great chance. But, you know, West Ham have certainly, you know, had a talking to at half-time and come out with a real intent to go and get something from this game.
James, thanks very much indeed. Back to James and Francis shortly. I've got a few minutes left on the transfer show and some more news, I believe. Kaveh.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because a couple of days ago I was told that Bristol City captain Josh Brownhill could be on his way to Burnley. Now, we checked that story out. We were told that it was unlikely to happen. But just now, I've just got another message saying that Burnley are close to agreeing a deal with Bristol City to sign Josh Brownhill. He's the Bristol City captain, 24-year-old midfielder who started his career at Preston North End. But this is what one source is telling me this evening. This hasn't been confirmed. Of course, we'll put it to Burnley and see what they have to say. But this is something that's been bubbling under for quite a few days. But this evening, I'm being told that Burnley are getting closer to agreeing a deal with Bristol City for Josh Brownhill.
OK, we'll keep an eye on that one. Thanks very much, Kaveh. I can tell you Liverpool have just scored a second at West Ham. It's Oxlade-Chamberlain who's got it. We'll hear from James Collins in a few minutes' time all about that goal. But I just want to wrap up the transfer show. 48 hours to go. Dharmesh, what are your expectations in the next couple of days?
I think we're going to see a scramble for a striker. You look at the likes of Manchester United, Tottenham and Chelsea, all in the market for one, especially if Chelsea lose Olivier Giroud as well. And could it be the difference between one of those clubs getting top four or not? Or will Wolves come on the blind side and get it?
10 seconds, Kaveh. What are you expecting?
I think I'd like to go to Barcelona. The weather's nice there. Apparently they're going to sign Aubameyang, Richarlison, Willian, Rodrigo from Valencia. So that looks like it's a place to be.
Sorry to really put a dampener on things, but you've just lost the rewind tonight.
Oh.
You're talking about a holiday to Barcelona, but you've been thrashed as well. Who was the transfer maestro? Dharmesh went with Sir Alex. You went with the famous Paisley. 25% of the vote, 75% Dharmesh. Well done to you. The transfer show is back at 7 p.m. tomorrow for another 2-hour special, and we'll be back next with all the latest from tonight's football.